This is part 3 of a 4-part presentation on corporate governance. In this video, we're going to discuss some concepts of internal control. Now, before we talk about the specific objectives and inherent limitations of internal control, let's first come up with an appropriate definition of what internal control is. Internal control is a process which is affected by an entity's board of directors, the company's management, and other personnel. Internal controls designed to provide reasonable assurance, and this word's going to come up again in at least one other slide, and it'll be important to go over it. So to provide reasonable assurance regarding the achievement of objectives relating to number 1, operations, number 2, reporting, and number 3, compliance. So what we're going to do now is we're going to discuss these 3 objectives of internal control. And the first objective we're going to discuss is promoting the effectiveness and efficiency of operations. Under this objective, we need to address the entity's basic business objectives by creating appropriate policies, procedures, and processes for the safeguarding of company resources, in other words, assets, improving the company's financial performance, increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of key activities and objectives, improving quality, and number 5, improving perceived customer value. The second objective of internal control is the reliability of financial reporting. This includes the timely reporting of accurate financial and operational information to permit management to make informed decisions. The third objective of internal control is compliance with applicable laws and regulations, and that is complying with applicable laws and regulations. Inherent limitations of internal controls. Paraphrasing our previous slide, we can say internal controls that are properly designed and those that are functioning can only provide reasonable assurance that internal control objectives are being met due to 6 major factors. And what I would suggest is, if you can't memorize these, at least memorize the mnemonic to help give you an idea of what these 6 factors are. And the mnemonic is CHOICE, C-H-O-I-C-E. And these particular limitations tend to be frequently tested on the exam. So we're going to go through each of these factors. The first one is being culture. And in a lot of cases, this is probably one of the most important factors in a company. It's also called tone at the top. And what it really says is the company culture may reduce the effectiveness of controls. So if you have executives and managers who do not take the internal controls seriously and who have a fast and loose attitude, in other words, tone at the top, all other employees are going to basically view and experience this behavior, which means those employees are also going to take the same attitude regarding basically the tone at the top in culture. So that's going to reduce the effectiveness of internal controls overall. Number 2, human error. People do make mistakes. No matter whether or not something is checked once or twice, mistakes still can occur. Number 3, override or management override. Controls may be overridden by those with such authorization. Incentives. If management increases incentives, the effectiveness of controls may be reduced. If there is a if there is a very large incentive for something to happen and a control is getting in the way of that incentive, people are going to tend to want to circumvent or ignore that control in order to achieve the incentive. Collusion. Manual or automated controls may be circumvented by collusion. And collusion means two or more people basically facilitating either an override or circumventing basically circumventing controls. And the last one is called entropy. Control components, policies, procedures, and processes just simply tend to break down over time. Okay, now that you've been given the 6 different factors that why internal controls can only provide reasonable assurance, that is going to be the end of part 3.